How's it going, folks? Connor Kimkel from the Sinestro channel here. We're going to be doing something a little bit different today. We are doing a reaction of my Armored Prize fight against Ian Davis, translator, author, harness, and close quarters instructor for Boston Armored Sorry, and all-around wholesome man of violence. The rules for the fight were quite simple. 5 passes with the axe, the sword, and the spear, in that order, with the total score dictating the winner of a whole $20 and bragging rights. Hit quality was determined by requiring a chambering action before the hit actually sticking against the armor as worn, so only axe head and beak works against plate and brig, thrusts penetrate mail, and cloth has no protection. In Ian's words, there's no kayaking into measure, and placing a point right up against somebody with no momentum or kind of force behind it, because that doesn't do anything. So how do we know this? Ian has put holes in historically accurate mail, and it took a chambering action to pass through. Surprise, surprise. Subjective a bit, but I thought it led to a bit more of a engaging rule set, personally. So the way the video is going to work is we are going to watch the scoring passes without editing first, then go back and look at the way the pass plays out, with me filling in my thoughts, my approach, my tactics, and my game plan for each weapon at the time. With all that said, we're going to jump into Pollaxe. An important thing to remember when we're watching Pollaxe is it's the one that I knew I was probably going to get beat at. Ian is really good at fighting in armor, and I'm kind of neophyte with it. I have a lot of experience in unarmored longsword, and that did do me quite well, at least in the passes that I have played in armor, but I'm still very, very new to it. You'll see, and we'll kind of go over where I fuck up.
Ready to go? Ready to go. All right. Veterans ready? Ready. Ready.
Okay, alright, so this the fuck is this, like, little Terminator walk that I fucking Alright, so let's watch this exchange. So, you know, I approach him like a bodyguard, I'm like, oh, fuck that. There's this little, like, bonk that I deliver to the shoulder that I guess maybe wasn't quality. I don't know. But whatever the case may be, it lands, it doesn't land, I'm not sure, and the engagement continues. Now we're probing a measure with the point forward. Ian's trying to take some advance. I do some fucking funky chicken footwork. So right there, Ian throws like this picture-perfect, like, fendente, and he ends in this perfect structure, but in doing so, it opens up that tempo, and with my point and presence, I just shoot straight for the throat, and I felt my point land on his aventail. It was perfect. It was beautiful. You know, and this is kind of what I was hoping for, although he has great control. We'll see if that control continues throughout the match, but I wanted to do more cutting than anything else.
And that is one well-struck blow for Connor. Veterans ready? Set.
The big bomb, yeah.
Well-struck blow for Ian. Are you all right? Yeah?
What? Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, no, that was great.
Alright, so I switch hands because I thought that maybe me operating on the same thing when he had anticipated me being a lefty might work some advantage to me. But you'll notice something in particular. My hands are very wide apart. I'm trying to catch in the middle here. And then I abandoned that tactic to probe, which I'm a lot more comfortable with. And I was planning on trying to make this, like, sniping blow to the leg be a bit more common for me, but you see it lands completely flat. I'm just kind of slapping him with the fucking side of my axe head, doing nothing. And so I'm backing up like, fuck, well, that plan didn't work. And then from here I'm like, well, okay, I'm gonna chamber backwards and try to make him kind of press back, but in doing so, I fucking choke up on my axe so far down. Basically, if I'm moving forward, I'm giving him the entire length of my axe, and he realizes that I don't have any chance, and so he just throws this fucking huge blow that lands perfectly just square on my fucking dome piece, like, BAM! it had a great sound to it. I'll say that. It had a very, very good sound to it. Yeah, no, perfect blow for Ian.
Alright, you're 1-1. Fences is ready.
Okay, so let's watch this one. Okay, so I approach again, still too choked up on the axe, maximizing my reach, but minimizing my versatility. And I'm thinking to try to stick to the thrust now, and I launch this half-hearted thrust right into where Ian has the most control of my weapon. And I'm punished for it. I put my arm up in the direction of the oncoming cut intentionally, since the half landing on my plate isn't going to do much of anything, except I am reflexively retreating, robbing myself of any intentional follow-up, and Ian scores this lovely hit right to the wing of my collar. And this little jump is just, it's perfect. It's very goblin-like. I enjoy it greatly.
Was a well-struck throw against arm. That arm was raised to block by stroke. That was well-struck throw to Ian, so 2-1. Fences ready.
Rolling.
Set.
Yeah, I remember this exchange. Yep. Okay. So again, another switch up to my tactics as I lead with the Q against Ian. I can't thrust with it as it does not have a proper spike there, but for feinting and parrying and framing riposte, it still works fine. I am now actively thinking about hand placement and have gotten myself into a proper distancing on the weapon. My thumbs are facing inwards towards each other, letting me work a more punchy mechanic on the axe. And one of the great things about axe is the little hand placements that you play around with. It changes it so much. So that attack whiffs, and in doing so, I've slashed my hands back again towards the Q. And this really fucks me on this next exchange, because in doing so, Ian plants this thrust to my brig, right? And now I'm in a position to beat and then riposte to his head. You know, classic thing that everybody pretty much does. But again, due to hand placement, I miss, and now my axe is completely misaligned, and I slap him with the flat. And throughout this, Ian has set himself up for a thrust to my armpit or over here, which is nuts that he could see and feel that when... you know, I could barely fucking see anything, but I reposition around the attack. I'm too slow on the draw, and get God in the end.
Flow from Ian onto Connor's side area. So that'll be 3-1. Fencers ready?
Ready?
Fence.
Okay, so I try to come in hot, and Ian threatens me with this, like, massive blow to the head. I parry it, and I'm going to now try to bring a thrust to bear. But, like, he's already protected himself while I'm mid-step. I see he's moving forward, and I've already threatened high, so I'm going to now try to attack low. So I throw this, and he parries the fuck out of it, and then just, like, bing! Perfect fucking hit right to my thigh fan. The accuracy was incredible. And that's going to finish us out for Pollaxe and send us on into Sword.
So we are 4-1.
Very nice. Very well done. Very well done. So let's reiterate my game plan a little bit here. Overall, I thought I was going to lose in Axe, take things over in Sword, and then finish strong in Spear. Longsword is the weapon I esteem the most. It's the one that I have the most accomplishments in, so I went in with a lot of confidence. I just knew that I had to, throughout the entirety of this, but especially in Sword, play a striking game, as Ian could tear down any lead that I would accrue if he got in close, and he made this into a wrestling contest. So with that in mind, let's see how this plays out, and let's watch some Longsword. Alright, so let's kick this shit off. Alright, so immediately you should note that I am fencing with an orthodox grip. Yes, half swording is what most people think of when you're fencing with armor, and it is done more, but it is not the only way to fucking play the game. Alright, so with that in mind, I approach and I threaten high to jostle Ian a bit, and I see him take the bait and begin to pursue. And while he's on his back foot, I probe, and then finally I drop that tip, and I thrust the lovely target of the groin. And end up, in my mind, much in the same position as the attacker in the exchange of the thrusts plate, which, that low thrust is not something that's commonly seen in unarmored longsword, but it's very viable when your upper body is covered.
Thrust to the groin against Ian. 1 point Connor. All right, Feds, who's ready? Feds.
Okay, so first few mistakes for sword here. I had thought that starting off in half sword would signal to Ian that I was ready to play closer to his game, but I don't make any action from half sword. I walk out there, immediately switch grips, and think that that is enough stimulus for me to snake a thrust in. It was not. Ian gets in the pocket, and I make the rookie mistake of any left-handed grappling and grab his fucking offhand while he is preparing to besiege my nutsack. The first thrust that he throws is tanked on my brig, and then the thrust that I throw soon after just grinds right off his breastplate, and I muster enough brain in all of this to grab my own sword, and then immediately lose that brain as I grab his hand again, and he prepares to go to town on my downstairs so while I am turtling up. A subtle and knightly art, indeed.
To the groin against Connor.
Indeed.
Feds, who's ready? Feds.
Hands down, one of the best exchanges of the fight right here. I intend on doing some proper half-swording here, actually, until Ian taunts me with this little single-handed thrust. As you can see, I'm in the God of the Serene Leopard. And now, Ian throws, like, this cheeky little single-handed thrust, and I'm thinking in my mind, okay, you motherfucker, it's on. So he throws that thrust, and I'm approaching now, and I'm like, all right, it's fucking go time. I'm gonna bring myself up into High Serpent, which is my favorite armored fencing guard, switch to an orthodox grip, and shoot this point in, and I just, boom, I send that Aventail flying a bit, but it's not deemed quality, so I retreat with a parry. And I'm looking for a golden opportunity now, and that is exactly what Ian gives me with this exact guard transition. It's something that I've had a ton of experience with unarmored longsword fencers who love to do this shit. So I approach, I prep my thrust, and then bam, I send that baby right home, landing cleanly and in a good position to continue an exchange afterwards if that wasn't called. How it gets called though, yeah, no, that's it.
Okay. We are at 2-1. Feds, who's ready?
Ready?
Feds.
Oh, I know exactly which fucking exchange this is. Ah, shit. Okay, so another highlight pass here. I come bumbling into frame, and I'm going to attempt to harass Ian's hands and his upper openings, but without any kind of like proper threat. He seemed a lot more measured through the entirety of the beginning of this pass. And I'm going to disengage low, but without a good threat on high. And so as I shoot forward, Ian is going to stomp that out immediately. He just does a nice strong parry on the middle of the sword, and he locks me into this strong position on my shoulder and frames with his head, and my right arm gets pinned in the crush between our bodies and is out of commission. I can't move it at all, and I'm trying to hold onto my sword as he pulls me, and I feel in that turn that I'm immediately taking a one-way ticket to the ground. He had a very good position on the back of my pauldron, on the back of my head. Yeah, so he throws me, and he lands with perfect framing. He's a very skillful throw. He does not touch the ground with his knees whatsoever as he stands back up, and he misinterprets what I say here. They misinterpret what I say here. I'm trying to dab him up. I'm trying to give him a fist bump, but they think I'm trying to ask for help up, which is so nice. I do like this this fucking reverse worm up. This is such a good fucking pass. Incredible. Alright, so last pass, let's send it.
Alright. Last pass. Spencer's ready. Set.
It's so fucking violent. Okay, so the name of the game for this pass is to flip the script again. I start off, in a more orthodox script, right? Probing and checking responses like usual, but I'm setting up for the half sword. I'm in a low guard to get that disengage and to pass inward so that I can make some room for myself to pass back. And we'll see in just a second that that's exactly what ends up happening. Boom, I shoot that disengage, and we end up in this classic high bind, right? And so we're in this neutral position, and what that allows me to do is take some time to pull back, free my sword, and then start going for the half sword. Ian rushes in to close that distance. I frame with my head and my shoulder, giving me enough clearance to get towards my weapon. As my right hand is free, as I'm going to snake it under, and I'm going to grab my sword as Ian withdraws that dagger, and that first shot is going to go straight onto my brigandine. The second is going to go onto my Aventail as this thrust skids off, but I start driving, and I'm shooting those thrusts in low as he's just peppering my shoulder.
The stabs I saw from Ian's dagger didn't quite make it to armpit. They weren't pretty neat.
First one went to the Aventail.
Totally great exchange. Wonderfully done. Wonderfully done. This is just an excellent showcase of an armored exchange for both of us here, and it's easily another favorite of mine. So Longsword went well, but the key here is that Ian is up 2 points on me going into Spear. Meaning to finish out on top, I have to make this as clean as possible. Again, Spear is not something I have had much time with. But I had some bit more than in Axe, and I naively thought a Spear is a quite straightforward weapon. My hours logged in Longsword will make up for what I lack, and I am no pushover. It's also at this point that fatigue is beginning to sit in. The sensory deprivation and sensory overload of fighting in armor is something I feel like is not described nearly enough, as it is truly a thing one must experience to get a feeling for. The encompassing void that fills everything but the ocularii and the breaths of which you see out of. The percussive jolts of weapons in your opponent's body on your steely second skin. The sensitivity of touch and feel which you must acutely tune into for the utter lack of sight when your visor clamps down and the opponent is in your grasp. Fatigue has now taken a set in my body, coming into Spear, but more so in my mind by this point. I'd used a lot of gas in Longsword, and to show for it I had only slimmed my trail behind Ian. Let's see how this passage of arms concludes.
Spencer's ready? Set!
This first pass sets the mistake that will haunt me throughout the rest of the fight, switching hands in measure. I approach Ndana, and I launch a pretty okay thrust. Like, that's pretty solid structure there, but my nerves get the better of me, and I pull back, aborting, and then make the rookie mistake of fumbling my handwork and changing grip in measure, and I simply get gotten. No further explanation there. Yeah, it's right here really that gets me. And like I said, that hand switch in measure will haunt me for the rest of the fight.
Nice cross right to the armpit. 1 point in. Fighters ready? Fight!
So you'll see me enter here in Port of the Pharaoh, which is my favorite spear guard. But something interesting happens. I've never fenced with my pauldrons on before this point, and I find quickly not being able to bring my point to bear from that position. So I shoot myself in the foot right afterwards, realizing this by choking up so high on the back end of my spear. Losing vital structure, I will need to mount any kind of offense or make an appropriate cover. So keeping the hand position, I bring my backhand low and my tip into presence. And I have some decent thrust structure here, but I have no tactic behind that probe whatsoever. I'm poking at Ian, and I switch fucking hands in the middle of this. And Ian just barely misses my arm there. There's a tempo here where something could happen, and I just shoot a really shitty counterattack and get got. The fatigue is really showing on this particular exchange, but the fight is far from over. Right. And I'm nodding like, well, of course that fucking happened. Oh, this exchange is so... Okay, so this is my favorite exchange from Ian. So let's break it down. So I switch hands early and out of measure, improvement, and I go into Donna, right? And then I'm going to start harassing Ian's hands here. Same deal, no real kind of thought behind it. I'm just trying to provoke a response. And I'm pool cueing the shots too, which is not helping me because as I'm disengaging and I'm threatening here, something very particular happens. Hand. I fucking slide my hand back up once again, fucking myself once more. Okay, and so I've gotten this position, right? And I'm going to drive this thrust, right? And we get to this neutral high crossing, where we both have our arms raised, and our only viable place to attack with the spear is to go low, right? We have pretty equal position, but because my hand is so far back on the spear, I have sacrificed the ability to shoot the point online. Ian has his hands right where they need to be, and as we both work towards the same opening, he masterfully places this touch and drives the thrust home. It's truly spectacular. It was such a great hit. Okay, so we're now in the back half of this, and my fate is sealed. I'm going to be out $20, and that's that. But I'm not giving up, and I'm fighting this to the last pass. I ditched my pauldrons to give me less weight and more mobility, which I've found to be well worth the sacrifice and protection. You see me working different angles here, selecting my opportunity to enter, find anything I can work off of. And I really do like this next little exchange, but I overcompensate for my relentless choking up on the ends here by opting to yoke my hands far deeper onto the sword, onto the spear, sacrificing much more range than is necessary, and making this next barrage kind of ineffectual. As I back off to prepare my next kind of assault, I bring myself into a more traditional stance, and Ian just hits me with this disengage as I'm prepping this thrust, and I catch him just on the side of the helmet, ineffectually, and that's just that for this one. I only have one more pass left, and we're gonna make this count for sure. Okay, last pass. Let's fucking send it.
So, well-struck blow for Ian. We're at 4-0. One more. ready?
One more.
Fight!
Okay, let's run that back. At the end of the last pass, I decided to do what I had avoided for most of the fight, which is to go full send and try to go straight into Stretta and get into dagger play. I approach and I shoot this low thrust, and with my newfound mobility, I'm able to bring my arms high. We're gonna bump skulls, and I'm gonna sink my head and my shoulder into Ian as like this dance for the dagger and for like arm control begins. So boom. I'm going to lock that down, and then I'm going to immediately go for the dagger. And I find it pretty quickly, but I realize I have it by the blade here, and I'm not in a position to risk stabbing this way. Ian can also now clearly see the dagger is in play, and the fight for it is about to start. I 2-on-1 the dagger, so it can't be stripped from me, and I stab him with the handle. It's fully intentional to get my hands closer to the hilt. Some big brain shit from me, if I don't say so myself. Okay, so as that happens, Ian has the arm, so I have the fucking wherewithal to switch sides and grab the dagger into a traditional grip, right? As he's trying to get that, as I'm chambering back, I'm going to, bicep tie his arm up as his arm is extended, and I lock him down with that tie nice and tight and close to my chest, and I just get to some good old-fashioned can opening. Strong finish for a loss, if I don't say so myself. This was like the only exchange where I really used the dagger, even thought to use the dagger, as I did not want this to just turn into a straight-up dagger fight. Yeah, no, I was very pleased with myself for the entirety of this one. It's fucking... It's a great exchange. Great exchange. Great fight overall. Fucking give it up for Ian, man. He fought so fucking well. It was beautiful, beautiful fight the entire way through, and I couldn't have been happier to lose to such a good opponent. Such a good fucking opponent. Thanks for watching. I look forward to my next fight. Please remember to check out all the shit that I got on over here, and yeah, well, watch the next bit.